Are you wondering whether to invest in an RRSP or TFSA? You're not alone, and making the right choice can literally save you thousands in taxes and boost your future wealth. Let's break it down. In this video, I'll be explaining the difference between RRSP and TFSA, when it's better to use one versus the other, and solidifying this with some examples. RRSP stands for Registered Retirement Savings Plan. It's designed to help Canadians save for retirement, and the biggest benefit, you get a tax deduction when you contribute. That means a smaller tax bill this year. Contributions are tax deductible, investments grow tax deferred, and you pay tax later when you withdraw, usually in retirement when your income is lower. What's the catch? If you withdraw early, you'll face tax penalties. Now, TFSA stands for Tax-Free Savings Account. And despite the name, it's not just a savings account, it's an investment account where your money grows tax-free. There's no tax deduction when you contribute, no tax when you withdraw, and it's flexible. Use it for any goal, not just retirement. What's the catch? You don't get an immediate tax break like with RRSPs. Here's the real question. Which one should you use? Depends on your income, goals, and tax bracket. Generally, you want to choose an RSP if you earn high income, you want a tax break now, and you plan on retiring in a lower tax bracket. On the other hand, choose a TFSA if you're in a lower tax bracket now, you want flexibility like buying a car, starting a business, building an emergency fund, and you don't want to worry about tax on withdrawals. One strategy is to just use both RRSPs for long term retirement and TFSAs for medium term goals or emergency funds. Again, depending on your circumstances, there's nothing wrong with using TFSA as a long term plan for retirement either. Let's meet Mia, a 30-year-old teacher from Toronto. Her income is $60,000 per year. I'll do an example where she makes $100,000 per year a little bit later on. Let's assume she contributes $5,000 into her RSP per year and she invests it in a balanced exchange traded fund portfolio earning about 6% annually. And she plans to retire at 65. That's 35 years of growth. So Mia is investing each year $5,000, which is less than 10% of her salary. After 35 years, that's a total of $175K that she will have put in. Growing at 6% per year, she'll end up with approximately $557,000 at age 65. But wait, there's more. Assuming on her tax bracket based on her $60,000 salary, let's assume that each year on that $5,000 contribution, she gets $1,200 tax refund, which each year she puts that also into her RSP and invested in the same type of fund, making 6% annually, doing that for 35 years, she would end up with $91,700. Now, if we add that to the number that we got with the 5,000 contributions, we get a total of $648,700. So assuming that upon retirement, she's in a 20% tax bracket and she takes the money out each year at reasonable amounts, she will end up with an after-tax total of $518,960. Now, of course, if she takes that $648,700 and says, okay, I want to withdraw the whole thing, that's going to count towards her income for that year. And most likely, almost half of that is going to be gone. So she'll end up with about $300,000 after tax. Not an ideal situation and not really the best plan to take out a lump sum in 1 year like that in your retirement years. Now, her other option was to have put that $5,000 per year directly into her TFSA. Assuming the same 6% annual return, 35 years of doing 5K per year is 175,000 of TFSA contributions by the time she's 65. At that growth compounded, it turns into about 557,000. Since these withdrawals are completely tax-free, she keeps the entire 557,000. The only negative is that she didn't get a tax refund each year, therefore she doesn't have that extra to invest. So let's sum this up. At the $60,000 salary level, the RSP results in after-tax $518,960, giving less total value than the TFSA. She has to be careful not to withdraw too much each year, or the after-tax amount will be even less. Because, for example, let's say she turns 65 and withdraws that full amount, that's going to be her income for that year, and she's going to be nailed at a much higher tax rate, giving her an after-tax return of way less. The TFSA, on the other hand, yields 557,000. There's no tax, simple, clean, and she can withdraw the entire amount without any tax consequences if she wants to. Now, let's look at what happens if she were making $100,000 salary each year. At an income of $100,000 per year, things get a little more interesting. In that $100,000 per year, she's at a 43% approximately marginal tax rate. So that $5,000 RSP contribution gets her a refund of about $2,150. If we put that also reinvested in the RSP each year for 35 years, that ends up growing to about $240,000. Again, assuming she's in a 20% tax bracket, as we said before, the $557,000 from the RSP becomes $445,600. So that's the $5,000 per year. And as we mentioned, the $2,150 per year ends up growing to $240,000. So after tax, that's $192,000. Altogether, we have a total at age 65 of $637,600 based on those assumptions. So, to summarize this, at an income of $100,000 per year, the total RSP value, as we stated, is $637,600. The TFSA value hasn't changed. It's still the $557,000. So in this case, the RSP gives more total value at this salary level, but only if you reinvest the refund and retire in a lower tax bracket. Again, these comparisons are looking at it from a retirement perspective, but as we mentioned earlier in the video, each type of account, TFSA, RRSP, has its own place and goal. In general, RRSPs are for long-term retirement, and TFSAs should be utilized for medium-term goals, emergency funds, or can also be for retirement. I'm hoping you learned a thing or two about RRSPs and TFSAs. If you did, hit that subscribe button and be sure to grab a copy of my book on Amazon to learn more about personal finance for Canadians. You can type Rick Ruda in the Amazon search bar or click the link in the description of this video.